Welcome to the Jan Meeuwsen Garden Show on 99.7 and 1450 WHTC. It's your opportunity to learn more about your garden and your yard, about dealing with pests, and about taking care of the birds. You can be part of the show with your questions at 395-1450. That's 395-1450. And now, from DeBruyn Seeds on Washington Avenue in Zeeland, here's the master gardener, Jan Meeuwsen.
A lovely morning here. The sun is shining. It is beautiful. A little bit of a breeze. You may not want to be shopping outdoors when you're at DeBruyn's, but you know what? You really should, because we have the new outdoor checkout station. Looks like a little toll booth in the middle of our parking lot. That's our new outdoor checkout. And we had to build a building around it because we've got a new cashier system. So we've got a point of sale where we scan things, and that's a computer, and we can't have that sitting out in the rain. So we had to build a little shelter for it. So it looks kind of cool. It's kind of neat.
I thought you guys got a security guard or something like that.
It does kind of look like that, doesn't it? Like a toll booth or a guard station. But that's actually the checkout. And there's a window there, and there's a great big shelf there to put your stuff. And we've got carts that you can wheel it on by. So yes, it's worked out pretty well. We only got it like maybe 10 days ago, but I'm enjoying having that out there. It's always kind of nice. Takes the burden off the two people in the store that are ringing people up. So it really does help. And you can still shop a lot outside right now. Outside we have asparagus roots, both green and purple, are out there yet. We have the Texas sweet onion plants that everybody loves. They are still here. They're still looking good, so you can come down and get those. We have like raspberry bushes and blueberry bushes and grapes and blackberries, I believe. We also have those left. We have strawberry plants, both ever-bearing and June-bearing. I don't know how much longer we're going to have them, but we have them now, so you can always stop and pick them up now. We have pansies. Some beautiful flats of pansies, and I keep forgetting to take some home every night, so I gotta write that down on my hand or something. Take home pansies. I love having flowers this time of year, when otherwise all I've got maybe is the green lawn kind of, and some. Although I have a miniature rhododendron bush that is in full bloom right now. It is absolutely gorgeous. Love that thing. It's got the most little teeny tiny, absolutely perfect flowers on it, and kind of a light purple. I love that bush. Love that. When nothing else in the front of my house is blooming, but that's up and growing. Too shady in the front of my house. The back of my house, I think that rose bush is going to start any day now, and butterfly bushes are going. And my pansies from last fall look wonderful. So you never know. Sometimes they look better than what you plant now. So you never know. Sometimes they have to go through that dormant period of being a little cold. But there's also fertilizer outside. There's bird seed. So you can buy a lot of stuff and never even go into DeBruyn's. So that's kind of nice if you're in a hurry. But if you go in, there are seed potatoes. We still have a nice selection of 5 and 10 pound bags of seed potatoes. If you want yellows in a 50-pound bag, you're out of luck. They are all gone now, and as are a lot of the other large bags of potatoes. But we do have plenty of 5s and 10s, so don't worry about that. We also have some, again, what I told you, asparagus roots, and we have onion sets, the white, yellow, and red onion sets. And we have the super sweet onion set. Now, a set looks like a little round ball. And we've got those in super sweet and regular, just the regular old storage onion. But we also have the Texas sweet onion plants. They're outside, and those look like plants. So that's what they're plants. The others are sets. We have, again, as I said, pansies. We have gladiola bulbs. We have 17 different colors this year. Went up from our normal 10 to 17. but they're doing well right now. Yeah, I don't think I'd plant them quite yet, but it's getting real close to starting those things outside. We have dahlia bulbs. They're Oh my gosh, they're some of the prettiest dahlia bulbs. I did a good job with those. They are looking really sweet. Those go quick. We've been flying through those right now. So you need to come in and pick yours out. What else do we have? We have, well, birdseed, um, and still a strong seller. People are still feeding their birds. Ted's Premium is still on sale through the end of today, where a 40-pound bag is $13.98. And hummingbird and oriole feeders, all of them that are in stock, are 20% off the marked price through the 27th of this month. So that's through next week. So if you need a hummingbird or oriole feeder, this is the time, this is the time I always go in the garage and I look in the cupboard in the garage where I keep all that stuff, and I'm going to pull out the oriole feeder and the hummingbird feeder, and they're both going to look like I never cleaned them last fall and I just threw them in, which is probably what I thought I would do, that I did, and thinking I would clean them in a week or two, but I never did. So now sometimes, yeah, there might be a little mold growing in them or whatever. Good time to, might have had a hole in one that was dripping. It's a good time to upgrade your hummingbird and oriole feeders. We've gotten a lot of them in over the past couple of weeks. Both the nectar kind, the ones that you put oranges on, the ones that you use the grape jelly, lots of them. The ones that you put the rotten bananas in for the hummingbirds, we've got those on sale too. So if you've always wanted to kind of try that one, I have a great time with that one. I get a lot of hummingbirds by that one. So it's kind of a fun thing to do and a different one. I also have my nectar feeder, but I'll tell you that the humbug banana feeder, it attracts fruit flies, and as they're going in and out of the feeder, those little hummingbirds will just dive down and catch one. It is so cute, and their major point of their diet is insects, so it kind of draws those insects in for them. So that's kind of fun. We also have seeds of every kind. Everybody calls, well, do you have your bean seed in? Or they're so surprised that we have all this ready. But we've been working hard all winter long to get all of this ready. So, yes, we do have our seeds ready to pick out. I can't think of, there's a couple of flowers that we're still waiting for them to come in. I don't hold my breath thinking that they're coming in, but they're mainly here. There's a couple of tomatoes that were already sold out of. That's kind of unusual for this time of year, but we do still have most of them. So, we've got most of the things growing. If you haven't started your tomatoes or your pepper plants, now is a good time to do that. Make sure you've got them for when it does get warm and we can finally plant them outside. So we're still thinking of that. But it's a little early for tomato plants, folks. No, we do not have tomato plants at the store yet. They are nice and happy in the greenhouse and nice and warm there. There's no way that they would like to be out in this weather and this wind and with as cold as the soil is right now. So, no, people will, but I put my tomato plants in every time early every year. Yeah, that's fine. Tomatoes aren't going to do anything until the soil gets warm enough, and it's going to be a little while. We've got some cold nights coming up here, so that we finally hit the mid 40s in soil temperature, and all of a sudden we're going to go back down again. So, just be patient. When I was growing up, a good time to plant your garden was Memorial Day weekend. It still is a good day to put in your garden. You don't win any prizes putting yours in first or even getting the first tomato of the year. You don't win any prizes, folks. So, make the garden sometimes can be a hard enough thing to take care of. Don't make it even harder. That's my advice to you. Make it as simple as you possibly can. Plant things when they're supposed to be planted. We do have a planting chart on the in the in the store that you can pick up for free if you'd like. Tells you how deep, how far apart, whatever to plant your stuff. And this is, you have a tendency, especially when you get little plants, like people buy these strawberry plants and they look pretty small when you get them, especially when you put them in a great big garden. These things look so small, and people don't think to leave, 12 inches on either side of the the strawberry plant before you plant another one. They think that's too far apart. So they'll plant them closer, but then you pay for that later on because you'll have a mess as they start sending out their runners. And that's how strawberries multiply, as they send out runners every year. And if they're all kind of mixing in with each other, it's a hard thing to do, hard thing to keep the weeds down, hard thing to just trying to even pick them. So do, take one of the free planting guides and do follow it. If it says they need to be 4 inches apart, plant them 4 inches apart. Take a ruler out there with you. Plant them 4 inches apart. If it says to plant them 1 inch deep, that's how deep you put it. I mean, if you make a hole with your finger, you go, up to this knuckle is 1 inch, so I can just push that down, and that's fine. But don't bury your, I put this 3 inches down. Some things don't like that and won't come up. You'll never see them up above ground if you plant them too deep. So do follow the planting guides. They aren't given to you for no reason. They're on the backs of all our charts, all our packages, and on the back of all the Burpee packages. So do, take note of that and make sure you follow those correctly. They like their social distance. They don't like to be too close together. So that applies to most things. So let's keep that in mind as we are planting, especially planting our onions or our peas or whatever we're doing now, potatoes. If you're doing onion sets or even onion plants, if you're going to grow them to be the big onions at the end, well, you're going to put those closer to the surface and further apart because they need that distance as they grow underground. If you're planting them just to use as green onions later on, you plant them a lot deeper because you want that nice white part on them, and that develops without chlorophyll because it doesn't have the sunlight on them. So you plant those deeper and closer together. Just makes sense. It's not rocket science, but again, follow the packet directions or follow the planting guide that you can get at DeBruyn's. It just makes life so much easier. And especially, people will plant their garden and then they go on vacation or summer starts and they get called away to other things and they kind of ignore the garden. But the garden is something that we really do need to watch out for. We need to stop and take a break, but we will be back after these messages.
When you need to know, on the air and online, we're here for you. 99.7 and 1450 WHTC and WHTC.com.
Up again. Okay, needed that. Okay, I've got the stuff that Gary sends me every once in a while, and the bird flu news. That's a big thing around here right now. Herbrooks, north of here, lost a lot of chickens this past week because the bird flu was discovered there, and it's out of an. We're just so worried about this spreading that I know we just destroyed the chickens, but honestly, you still could eat the chickens. But you really, if you get them get the bird flu in your backyard birds, it probably is best to have them for dinner rather than let them go on. So keep your eye out for decreased production. They stop eating, look a little sickly. There's very good possibility you could have bird flu there. So make sure that your birds do not have an area where they can commingle with wild birds, um, especially any kind of migratory like ducks or anything like that. Um, don't let them be in a pen where the top is open and the other birds can just walk around, get in their runs, and spread the disease. So do be careful with your birds. This is part of, this has been going on ever since I was in vet school. So that's how long ago. But the bird flu comes every year. Some years it's worse than others. This one appears to be a little worse than the ones before. So do take the extra care and caution around your birds. If they're free ranging, you might want to have them not free ranging right now. Get them inside or in a pen where they can't commingle with the other migratory birds. It's very important. It doesn't take much to get it to spread from one bird to another. Um, and even and with cows too, they've discovered the herds in Michigan that have dairy herds that have the bird flu. Um, it's been so far mainly just the older ones and the less productive of the milk cows, but they have pulled all of that milk off the market, even though it is pasteurized before it would go out. It is pulled out of the general public, so you're not going to be drinking milk from a cow that has bird flu. You don't have to worry about that. But again, we need to watch out for it in all of our wildlife. I don't know of any cats or dogs that are getting it yet, but we don't eat them, so it's not a big deal. Um, I don't know too many dogs or cats that like to commingle with ducks and things like that. But hey, they can go around where a duck has just pooped or whatever, and they could get it that way. So do watch out because it seems to be able to cross species right now. This one that's coming this spring. So again, do be very, very careful. There, yeah, might have an impact on the supply chain, but I don't think so. It was so far it's just been one flock of chickens and a couple of dairy herds, and it's been mainly the older cows. So I don't think it's going to have an impact on that. But you never know. You might want to get what you need to get now and maybe freeze enough stuff. I don't know. I'm not a fortune teller, but just be forewarned about that. Um, this week, they have discovered, there's all these invasive species that are out there, and I'm going to talk about a new one. It's called the balsam adelgid. Now we've got a woolly adelgid, that hemlock woolly adelgid that goes up in the hemlock trees, and you can see it. They look like little white cotton puffs right where the stem meets the branch, and they could just suck all the life right out of your tree and can kill your tree. Well, now this one invades the species, just the fir species, the FIR species of pine tree type things, like the Douglas fir, Fraser fir. This is more of a challenge problem for the Christmas tree people, especially if they've got a large, area where they have Douglas fir, Fraser fir that they normally can get more for as a Christmas tree. If they get this, it's basically a no-go anymore because it does make them rather sickly looking rather quickly. So we have to keep an eye out for it. It's been located in western Michigan. It came in with some nursery plant that wasn't inspected. If you're going to go look for a specimen tree or whatever, do make sure it has been inspected, that they will inspect for insects and diseases. That really needs to be done. Be very careful when you plant other things in your yard. Boxwoods, too, are now coming in with a boxwood worm that is just devastating. If it comes in with it, it just devastates that bush. You can almost hear them all eating, and it's that bad. So, again, make sure you get from a reputable nursery that has been checked. Make sure there's a tag on it that it has been checked for any kind of problem that it might have. You know, you kind of laugh about it, but it can completely destroy Christmas tree farms. And there is, we've got a lot of workers that depend on things like this. So we do need to be careful when we start planting things in our yards. That, or if you've got want to start a Christmas tree farm, even with a couple of the more expensive trees, it takes a long time for them to grow from little baby trees to trees that are of good enough size to use as a Christmas tree. And your work can be just snuffed out in an instant. So be aware, check your trees often. And if you see that it can be treated, it's not the hardest thing in the world to kill them, but you do need to be on the ball and looking at these sort of things. Um, Again, Michigan Department of Agriculture is asking that all of us to be the eyes in the fields here, especially looking for the Japanese lanternfly right now. That is just a horrible thing to get. It will decimate our fruit crops here in West Michigan. We do not need it. It is a tan bug about an inch long. The wings fold out over its back, and it's kind of a pretty color brown and with a little few light polka dots on the back. But when it opens up and you see its tummy, it's got yellow, it's got red, it's got brown, it's got black, it's got polka dots, it's got stripes, it's got everything a good insect should have, but it's an evil one. So we need to watch out for that. If you do see that, please notify. Take a picture of it. Make a note of where you saw it. Like I saw it at the corner of Elm and Washington in Zealand, and notify the Department of Ag about that. If you don't know who you need to call, please call us at DeBruyn's and we can help you with that on any invasive species if you see it. We do need to be aware of the invasive species out there. They come in insects, they come in animals, they come in amphibians, they come in water plants, they come in regular plants. We got to know all of these things. Unfortunately, it's a big world, and we've got too much traffic between different countries that they just need to bring one in, and they just lay eggs or they divide and make new plants. We're lost. It doesn't take much. And we do have the bioadvanced tree and shrub that you can use around all of your plants. If you've got something like the adelgids or borers or anything like that, we'll take care of that. We also have the generic form of that. If you've got a lot of trees that you need to do, you might want to think about the generic form of the bioadvanced tree and shrub. You'll save a few dollars, and it's you have to do it, especially if you're living around Holland here. It's the adelgids, et cetera, are it's multiplying. I remember not that long ago, I went to that meeting in Park Township about the hemlock woolly adelgid, and it was noted in one or two trees in Waukezu Woods, and they thought they could keep it under control. And I remember Department of Ag workers were walking all around Waukezu Woods and then by the shoreline, and it just spread so quickly. It almost kind of, it was in Waukezu Woods, and suddenly it was north of Muskegon, and then it was up near Traverse City. It just really spread so quickly. So we do need to be on our best lookout abilities for anything like this, because it's not a joke. It will kill your trees. Trees take a long time to grow. Trees are a very vital part of our environment, so we need to have them. The oak wilt disease, this is another thing that's not something to be laughed at. We are past the time where you can be trimming your tree your oak tree. The problem with that is oak wilt is spread by something called a picnic beetle. And if it has a little wound on it, say a little branch fell off and there's a little wound there, and that picnic beetle finds that wound almost instantaneously, and they get up and they go into the little cambria of the tree and they block off all of the vital circulatory system of the tree, so nothing can get up or down. So you'll suddenly see tree branches failing. So this is something we need to watch out for. Also, hey, we need to stop and listen to the news. Kind of chill here, listen to the news, and we'll be back with the garden show after all of that happens.
This is Rusty Halverson. Join me for West Michigan Farm News every weekday on 99.7 and 1450 WHTC.
All right. Nice music to come back to here, kind of mellow. We'll talk about something pretty mellow. We won't talk about all these horrible things that are coming up. What can you plant in your garden right now? And you can plant a lot of things as long as your soil is not wet. Now, we can plant the cool weather crops. We cannot plant things like beans yet. Corn is pretty iffy also, but we can plant things like peas can go in now. Seed potatoes can go in, onion sets, onion plants, asparagus roots. Garlic can go in now. Spinach, lettuce, and a lot of the other greens can be planted outside right now. So it's kind of fun. Oh, and we do have a caller on the line. Good morning, caller. You're on the Garden Hour.
Good morning, Jan. I've had 2 trees taken down, and now I would like to plant some grass seeds. The area gets most sun during the day, maybe late afternoon when it goes beyond the house.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of grass seed would you recommend?
Is this area got a underground irrigation or not?
Yes, it does.
Oh, I'd probably do. I know you're going to say all sunny, but I'd probably do the sun and shade just to be on the safe side.
Okay. Very good. And so that's all I look for, sun and shade grass seed?
Yes, yep, we got it at DeBruyn's.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I'll go there. Thank you.
All right,
Take
thank
care.
you. Yep. Yeah, lots of people are putting in grass seed right now. It's kind of sad that you took out trees, but hey, I guess we have to do that in certain times. The phone lines are open, 616-395-1450, 616-395-1450 is the number to call. Yeah, we're talking about what to put in the garden right now. Remember to listen to Mandy whatever and Laura Lockwood or whatever on the weather here. Do listen to it. Listen for the nightly lows. If you do have stuff planted and it's starting to come out of the ground, I don't care that it is a cool weather crop. You're going to need to cover them if the overnight low is going to be less than 30 degrees. They can handle 30, but if it's going to be in the 20s, no, cannot handle it. So do be careful about that. Do be listening to the weather. And again, I said, remind you of planting them however far apart. And they're going to look like really sad. The garden always looks really sad when you get it planted with plants and they're so far apart. But they do grow and they get thick, and you'll be cursing yourself if you don't do it far enough apart. So keep that in mind as you're doing it. I can't tell you how much, and it's easier to hoe and weed if you keep them at the correct distance apart. And I'll tell you, the big thing that weeds are the big thing later on. So, once you get your garden planted, you might want to put some preen on it. That will prevent the weed seeds from growing. It won't, if something's spreading underground, it won't stop that. But it's going to stop a lot of those weed seeds from coming up. So it's really like a backache in a bag sort of thing. It's going to do all the work for you, and you don't have to worry about that. It's kind of it's just a nice thing to have that down. Do your landscape beds right now. You've got all the plants in and bushes in, and you're all set. Once you put the mulch in, you put preen on top of the mulch. You don't plant it. You don't put it on the ground. You put it on top of the mulch that's around the plants. That way, it forms a barrier, and the weeds can't grow up through that barrier. And I know you don't spread it a huge amount, but you do enough. It's like salt and peppering your food. That's how much you put on the ground, and that will work fine. It does spread out over the area. If you're going to at some point in time be monkeying with the mulch later on, you're going to want to spread a little more preen there. Preen will last about 3 months. I've got mine on my landscape beds right now. Around July or end of June, first part of July, I'll add some more preen just to make sure I've got it enough of a coverage to go all the way through the end of the season. It works like a charm. I'm not constantly pulling weeds. It's just really a nice thing to do. So when you're planting those, once you get those landscape beds all cleaned out, put the mulch on, get the preen on, or even in your garden, there's certain things that you can plant by seed afterwards. You're going to have to read the back of the preen package, but preen can be used in your vegetable garden also. And there is an extended control preen, which is kind of nice. You put it down, and I think it lasts 5 months or 6 months even. So it will actually last the whole season. But I would, if you're going to put it around your landscape beds and in your garden, well, especially in your landscape beds, if you had one of the winter annual things like the hairy cress or henbit or anything like that anywhere in your landscape beds, I would put some preen down in your landscape beds in September. And you're going to say, why do I do it in September? It will prevent those things from germinating. They germinate in the late fall, early winter, and that preen will stop that from germinating. So that you won't have those horrible bitter cress right now that they kind of pop up, and it's not fun. So let's just gonna keep that going. Put that preen down again in September, and I will remind you again then to get your pre-emergent down. We have this limited memory that it's horrible in the spring, and hey, by 4th of July, we have forgotten completely about it because those weeds have kind of disappeared now when the hot weather comes. It's kind of funny. So, yeah, it is rather odd and unusual, but yay, we're such it's got to be right in our face, and if it isn't in our face, we have a tendency to forget it. So let's keep that in mind. And what else did I want to talk about? Flower seeds. Oh my goodness, everybody wants to plant wildflowers this year, which is nice. I like flowers too. Just keep in mind that flowers are a lot of work. It's not just just one time just throw it out and suddenly you have a field of wildflowers that are beautiful. First thing you have to remember is the perennials usually do not flower the first year. Annuals, that's why they put annuals in there. So you will not see those perennials that first year, but you will see the annuals. You need to chop that down. And we're going to talk about this more after this, because this is a talk about how to keep your wildflowers going along as much as you can. We need to stop and listen to the news. Let's do that.
Hi, this is Mark Vandenbosch of Zeeland Lumber and Supply. Join me Saturday afternoons at noon for the At Home Show on 99.7 and 1450 WHTC.
Oh, I like this one. Keep this one. All right. Oh, wait.
We'll just keep it going for a little bit here.
Yeah, what?
No one wants to hear about the wildflowers. They want to hear the music.
Oh, come on. Oh, well, that was nice while it was lasted. So we're going to talk about wildflowers, how to plant them. People, when you get a package of seed from us, that entire package, even though it looks like there's a lot of junk in there, is all seed. Those are all seeds. Even that little black stuff in there, seeds. So we want to make sure we get it all out over an area that is appropriate. A lot of people mix it with sand, mix it with, topsoil that's been sifted or whatever, or not topsoil, potting soil. So, when you throw it out, it kind of bulks it up so you can cover it over a larger area that it should be in. And then you also, when it gets down, it's covered with that little bit of dirt with it. So it's absolutely positively in the ground, and it will, once it rains, it's all set to go. So that is the way to do it. Some people use a fertilizer spreader. Some people just toss it out. Make sure you get the right amount of seed for the area that you have. Make sure that the area that you want to plant it in has been cleared of all of the plants that are in there now, all the weeds, because the wildflowers do not compete well with the weeds. And once you get it out there, it's not just throwing it out there and then walking away and never thinking about it again. You got to weed it. You got to, you got to be able to identify weeds and identify other things that might get in there. So let's, you might want to get an app on your phone. Is this a weed or is this something else? So, yeah, make sure that you know what is what there. And yeah, it's just they're fun things to do, but they are a lot of work. You're going to reseed it. They're kind of like a pasture where you have to refresh it every year. You don't throw as much seed out, but you're going to have to throw out some. In the fall, you're going to want to take it and mow it down to about 6 inches. So it is, a 3-season type of thing that you're worrying about. You'll get enough pretty flowers in there. Other weeds are going to grow. If you don't like that look, then you're going to have to be out there weeding. And remember, the weeds will overtake the flowers if you don't bother to refresh it every year. So that's an important thing to know. Gardens take work. They aren't just something that you plant and then you go back in the fall and there everything is all ready for you to handle. There's bugs, there's insects, there's diseases, there's weeds, there's all kinds of things that are going to be a problem. So let's keep that in mind, that there are things out there that want to get at your garden. So you're going to have to take your time and get it all done and watch it. Gardening is fun. It's relaxing. And if it isn't fun and relaxing for you, really don't do it. Don't bother with it. I find it fun. I love being out there playing with my plants. I love getting stuff that I have actually, grown myself, and it works and it's there. So, yeah, that is just so exciting, watching things grow, especially if you've got kids around. It's just an exciting thing to have and to do. But again, don't do it if it's too much work for you. That's going to be my philosophy. Container gardens, a way to do it where it isn't that much work, or not much work, but it's up off the ground so you don't have, I thought it would be nice, I wouldn't get bunnies in it, but, one year I looked in my container garden and I was going to start getting it ready for the year, and Mama Bunny had her babies in it. So yeah, so I knew she can get up there, but it's still kind of fun. Make sure you've got the right sort of dirt in your container gardens. I don't care if it's a 5-gallon bucket or one of the very fancy container gardens. Make sure you have the correct soil. You want something that drains freely. Potting soil is usually too heavy and wet for something like that. You're going to want something that, we've got stuff that's labeled for container gardens. I find it better to use just a lightweight potting soil. That works well for me, and I add a little vermiculite to it so it drains well. That the worst thing you can do is it where it just stays wet, and then you're lost because it takes a long time for that water to get out of those container gardens. So you're going to want to do a lightweight soil that drains out the bottom. Make sure you have holes in there so you can let that drain. I've got some pots where they've got a hole in the bottom, but it's flush with my deck when I put it out there. So I'll put some like bricks underneath it so it can drain out the bottom. Do not want to have that sitting in water. That's the worst thing you can possibly have to done. So you want to do it. Container gardens, you can put just about anything in them that you possibly think of. Maybe something, you can always have it a trellis and have it go up. That works. If you don't want to do, if you want to do something that's going to take a lot. And what else? That's about it for the container gardens. Make sure that your tomatoes, you get a 5-gallon bucket, and people want to put mini plants in there. It's going to take one tomato plant in a 5-gallon bucket, or maybe 2 pepper plants. Don't overcrowd those. That's a real important thing to remember. You get too many things in there, nothing's going to grow well, and you're not going to get much out of it. So what you put in it, how you do it, is going to be the best way. I have to remind you, I'll be back here on Tuesday morning at, what time? 8:45 with Dan for the garden party, and then I'm on at 10 to 11 on the Talk of the Town with Gary. Can't remember these things. And then I'm back here next Saturday at 11:05. And until then, I'm going to say, go green.
You've been listening to the Jan Meeuwsen Garden Show on 99.7, 1450 WHTC and WHTC.com. If you wish to hear this or other programs hosted by the Master Gardener from DeBruyn Seeds in Zeeland, check out the podcast section of our website, WHTC.com, and listen or download for free. The Jan Meeuwsen Garden Show is a presentation of 99.7 and 1450 WHTC.